privileged to be with this very distinguished group of theologians, scientists, philosophers. It's an amazing collection of people here on the faculty. And I was telling my friend Lakshmi Prachury, who runs Inc., that this is a great resource for her because in one location in this beautiful campus, you have what might be called thought leadership that has tremendous implications for the rest of the world. It's a model that could be easily replicated because you've already created it. So I'm supposed to talk about management and spirituality, and I would rather talk about leadership and spirituality, which of course leadership includes management. I think you know the distinction between the two. A good manager is efficient and manages what's going on, the status quo, but a leader is not satisfied with that. A leader wants to also be an agent for transformation and change, because anything, even managed efficiently, ultimately becomes static if it doesn't change. It's the nature of organizations, the nature of people, the nature of our consciousness to constantly seek transformation. And I would like to actually, I was thinking right now, because I spent 2 hours this morning talking about science and spirituality. I don't want to repeat myself. I was thinking perhaps I should start with a story that that might give you some idea of what I'm going to talk about. And the story is actually a story of my mother, and goes back a long time. When I was 6 years of age, my brother, who's now the dean of Harvard Medical School, was 3 years of age at that time. We were living in a small town, not then small, Jabalpur. I'm sure you're familiar with it, in Madhya Pradesh. And this is in the 50s, so you know how ancient I am. But we read in the newspaper, my father was an army doctor at that time, and he was a cardiologist, he was a medical specialist. And we read in the newspapers that Mr. Nehru was coming to our town. He was going to open the first factory, automobile factory actually. It was a gun carriage factory. It still exists. They were starting a collaboration with Mercedes-Benz. And we had never, of course, seen Mr. Nehru, so the whole town was abuzz with the fact that he was coming to our town. And that was the only conversation. Everywhere you went, Nehru was coming, Nehru was coming. My mother, of course, would keep asking my father all the time, what sari should I wear for the occasion? And my father would look at her and say, what do you mean? There are going to be millions of people on the street. Do you think he's going to notice your sari? And she said, of course. He is. My mother was very intentional and single-minded. So on the day when he arrived, we had a house on Narmada Road then in Jabalpur, and we had a long driveway and then the street. And so my little brother, 3 years, me, and my mother in a beautiful pink sari, and my father wearing his army uniform with all his World War II medals. We were on the street at about 4 in the morning, before the sun rose. By about 7, immediately after sunrise, there were millions of people on the street. And you know better than anyone that in India, when we say millions, it means millions. It doesn't mean thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. It literally means millions. So as far as the eye could see, there were people. People hanging from window ledges, people on treetops, people on bicycles on each other's shoulders. I still remember, even though I was 6 years, because it was the first time I'd seen so many people. It's a sea of humanity, and very rambunctious and crowdy, the kind of people that you now see in football matches in Europe. And at 9 o'clock, so this is 5 hours, we've been on the street. At 9 o'clock, Mr. Nehru's motorcade turned the corner before our house, and he was standing in a jeep wearing a Nehru jacket, as we call it, white, that a rose, and he was all by himself in the jeep.